may have signed up and not being able to join us can see it, but also an opportunity for us to share the content with others as well in the Edge community. So can everyone see the screen? Awesome. Okay, so like I said, my name is Crispet Cowie, and I'm one of the program leads here at Edge, focusing on incubation, working with companies and individuals that are looking to start their company from idea. So we're here at this session called That's the Idea, all the way towards supporting the learning and development for people that are further along running startups, generating their first sale, and even up to, you know, thousands of dollars on a reoccurring basis as well. I do see some Edge members in our presence here today, so I just want to say official welcome. Great to see you here. Thank you so much for joining. I see lots of new faces. So if you have not heard about Edge before, Edge is Sheridan's incubator, and as I mentioned, we support startups all the way from ideation to commercialization. And throughout our time together, you learn a little bit more about us and opportunities in which you can connect with us beyond this session as well, learn about our programs. And so also we will be including the caption, so an opportunity for folks to make sure that we are doing, being inclusive and making sure that everyone, as much as possible as we're able to in this virtual digital setting, to be supported. We are using Google Translate. It may be accurate, it may not be accurate, but we will continue to improve our systems in order to ensure that your time and experience here with us is great. Next slide, please. So just to talk about why are we here, based on what you would have seen in the Eventbrite, really understanding the tools and the processes around idea making generation, looking at your idea in many ways today, exploring what that could mean in terms of going from an idea, something that's in your mind, to something that's tangible. I was just sharing with my colleagues a little while ago, I had this idea for a sword, and the 3D printer behind me just made the sword. So, you know, it is a possibility to make your ideas into a tangible thing, which is super cool. And opportunities to learn about Edge as a whole, and which in ways you can engage with us, as I mentioned before. And you will have a chance to connect with the peers on this call tonight in breakout rooms, where you will be able to develop and build relationships as well. You can go to the next slide, please. So we're on Zoom. For many of us, it may be our first time using or being here on Zoom. I would ask, as we're going through the session, if you're not speaking, if you can keep yourself on mute. And I will also ask my colleagues Cole and Simi to just make sure that everyone remains on mute if they're not speaking. Also, your web camera is not mandatory. So if you feel comfortable to be on screen, I can tell you, as someone who's currently talking to everyone, it's nice to see faces versus just seeing blank screen, but your comfort level is our priority. So do what you're comfortable with. But at this time, I would like to invite everyone to introduce themselves in the chat, to just ensure that the chat functionality is working. So if you want to put your name, and if you have an idea or business that you're currently working on, feel free to share that, as well as any social media handle. Here at Edge, we like to follow and support people that come out to our event. So I'll just give a minute, and if everyone wants to just put their name and their event, your idea in the chat, that would be super awesome. So if you're trying to find your chat, Cole, can you just point to where the chat is on your screen, the chat functionality? Awesome. Super cool. Too many to list. Lisa, you're in the right place. I could tell you at the end of this session, you will have a way, a mechanism, a tool to decipher which idea you go after first. So you're in the right place. Thank you so much for sharing. Training and development. Yes, please. Awesome. So while folks, and I invite you, share what you're comfortable with, and we're definitely happy to have you. Just we wanted to test it out also because if, as Patrice begins facilitating, or when I come back on to talk about Edge later on, feel free to put your questions in the chat as well as they come up. Okay. And if you're still looking for ideas or exploring ideas, you're definitely in the right place. Cole, you can go to the next slide. So just to give you a little bit about Edge. So as I mentioned earlier on, Edge is Sheridan Entrepreneurial Incubator Space. We actually have just expanded to the Brampton campus thanks to John Lamb, the startup man. John, I will give you an opportunity if you want to say anything special that's happening at Davis during this COVID time, anything that we should be aware of.
So we're in the process of setting up a co-working space, and over the summer, we launched a video series to talk about how to generate, how to select, and how to test ideas. And in November, we're going to launch a webinar series as well in conjunction with the Brampton Entrepreneur Center, with the Brampton Library, and also with the Center for Advanced Manufacturing and Design Technologies, to talk about how to take an idea and then actually prototype it and then turn it into reality. So that's what's coming up. And you'll learn all about this if you follow Edge on social media and keep up with our communications.
Awesome. Thank you so much, John. And it's really great when you're in this ideation stage, or even if you have a current idea and you're looking to just figure out how to build on it, going back to these tools that you're going to be learning tonight are fundamental. You cannot get rid of brainstorming. You cannot get rid of making a decision and following through as well. So you're in the right place, as I said before. And, with Edge, focusing on training, mentorship, support, and access to funding, and ultimately building a supportive community around the work that we do. You can go to the next slide, Cole. So I just want to invite everyone at this point in time. I know some of you are exploring ideas. I know some of you have so many ideas. I'm going to ask you to think of one if you don't have one, but what's a problem you're working on right now? And not necessarily, sometimes when we use the word problem, people are like, what's the problem? Think about a need. What need keeps coming up in front of your mindset? What desires or gaps you're seeing in the marketplace? So I just want to invite people, just one problem that you're either working on or that you're seeing in society that needs to be worked on. So I'll give a minute for that. So feel free to put it in the chat. And as folks are putting their one problem on the chat, I want to see if there are any brave souls that would be interested in coming on and just talking a little bit about the problem that they have. So I'm looking for 2 volunteers. Feel free to unmute yourself or raise your hand if you're on camera. I can see you. Yes. Oh, perfect. I got two folks. Yes. Tell us about your problem.
Hi, everybody. My first time here, so it's really amazing to see the work done by Edge. So first thing, my business venture that I want to do, it's called mylittlehealthstore.com, where it sells all natural products, starting from products for meditation, health products, products for your skin, that is all 100 natural based, plant-based. My problem is it's how to market myself, knowing that there are multiple companies that are going this way, and being that it's an online business, I am not quite sure of how to go about getting my target market.
Awesome. That is a great problem to have, and you're definitely in the right place. My friend, I have to make my screens bigger to see your names. The gentleman in the white, yes.
Okay, hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Thank you for this opportunity to come into this workshop. Hello, everyone. My name is Sachin Sharma. I have an active interest in developing a training / development solution to focus on the needs of those of us who are looking for entering either a professional role within a organization, or perhaps that they're looking to go on a solo basis and sort of hang their shingle and set up their own professional services company. So a lot of these, in a lot of these instances, the need is not so much from a marketing standpoint or from a IT standpoint, but it is from the aspect of developing your core skill set. So what I'd like to do is to be able to work with folks that are looking to enhance and grow their service offering, if you may. So think about it in simple terms. Somebody who is trying to enter the professional world as an accountant, they might have a lot of theoretical knowledge that they've gained in school, but accounting practices are looking for specific types of skills and specific types of experiences that these people ought to have in order to be able to successfully walk into those roles. Somebody who's graduating as from, let's say, an IT background and is looking to land their first professional gig, or maybe it's somebody who is a person who is a new immigrant into Canada, and they might be a lawyer from back home, and they're looking to transition into the Canadian legal market. So what this training and development vision is to provide solutions to these folks so that they are equipped with, hit the road running, specific things that they can do for their clients, whether those clients are corporation clients or they are B2B or B2C clients. So to be able to add value in that space. I think I've gone over my time limit.
It's okay. Thank you so much for sharing, Sachin and Sushma. Sorry if I butchered your name, but thank you so much for sharing. And I will now pass it over to Patrice.
Hi, everyone. So before I jump in, let me just take a little time to tell you who I am. My name is Patrice Esson. I am the Associate Director, International Services at Sheridan. Earlier, Chris Beth kind of laughed because I switched roles this year. And so before I was the Associate Director, International Services, I was a professor here at Sheridan teaching creativity, creative thinking, group dynamics, creative leadership. My background is in industrial organizational psychology. I know that's a very strange feel, and people give me double takes when they're like, what's that? Basically, I'm a workplace psychologist. So I know, Sakchen, you're talking about, helping people train. Somebody else was talking about finding your passion and your career path. So a lot of that is my background, and I am a social entrepreneur at heart. My spouse is an entrepreneur, and I always joke and say, I am the kid who your kid brought home and they stayed when it comes to Edge. I basically just got adopted into the family, and I love partnering with Edge any chance I get. And so, when we're back on campus, don't be surprised if you walk into Edge one day and see me hanging out there, even though I don't work for Edge, because that's how much I love working with Edge, and that's how much I love working with people and talking about ideas and how to get ideas. And that's what this session is all about. So some of you didn't quite have a business idea yet. You weren't quite sure, you were exploring ideas. Here's the deal. This session is for everyone. If you haven't pinned it down yet, that's okay. What we'll do is we'll start with something you're passionate about, and we'll work from there, or something that's on your mind. And if you do have, more concrete business idea like Shushma or Jakchan, then that's okay too. We will work with you there. So Cole, if you could kindly go to the next slide, we'll kind of give people a lineup of where we're going. Oftentimes when we start exploring this whole idea of ideas, people often stop me and go, well, Patrice, what does creativity have to do with my ideas? How on earth does that make sense? And so, you know, we are going to talk about what creativity is. We will talk about how that ties in to your ideas. We'll also talk about, well, how do you go about generating ideas? We all generate ideas. We do it every single day. From the moment we wake up, we are generating ideas. We don't even realize we've done it. You know, you walk into your kitchen, you stumble into the kitchen, you realize, oh no, I have no milk. What's gonna go in the coffee now? And you find something else, right? You come up with a new idea and we don't even realize what a natural thing it is. So we'll talk about how do we maximize on that natural potential we already have. We'll also talk about, well, you know, once you have the idea, how do we determine which one's the most promising? Because sometimes our problem isn't the generating of the idea. It's actually working through to discover which one gives us the most promise, which one can go furthest. And as an entrepreneur, that's something, you know, working with entrepreneurs a lot, that's one of the things I know. Entrepreneurs have a lot of ideas, but sometimes we get stuck in that place of determining which one is going to be the one that makes the most impact to the world if you're a social entrepreneur, which one's going to make the most profit if you are in this for the money. And so what we're going to talk about is just that. Now, here's the thing. We're all born creative. I know some of you are going, what? Well, I could tell you I am a type A personality. I'm very organized. I'm very structured. In fact, when I was in elementary school, any homework assignment that required me to draw anything, my mother was the one who drew it. My homework, I will not, it's the truth, because my ability with crayons and pens and paper to draw anything, terrible. I am not gifted in that way. My mother put me in piano lessons when I was a kid. I think the piano teacher was happier to get rid of me than I was to get rid of her. I was such a terrible student at the piano. So when you look at me, I'm not the person that people would traditionally see as being creative. But where you see my creativity is within my ideas. I am sprouting ideas all the times about all sorts of things. And one of the things we learn is that creativity and ideas are closely linked. The more you practice developing your ideas and generating ideas, the easier it will come for you. It's like these athletes on your screen. What do we know about athletes? A lot of them, you know, if you do their research, you know, you'll hear things like they're genetically predisposed to be good athletes. They have the certain sort of muscle tone or the certain build to succeed in this particular sport. But do you think that any of these athletes could just roll out of bed one day, go on the track and win the 100 meters? Yeah, no. What do they have to do? They train. Thank you, Matthias. They train day in, day out. They're in the gym, they're on the track, they're doing their exercises, they're training, because the more we work at it, the better we get at it. And that is the whole point of being creative. We all have the ability to come up with things that are new and useful. That's kind of the idea of what the definition of creativity. We all have the ability to do it, but we have to practice it. And so this session is all about helping you develop skill sets to generate ideas. And when you practice it, that's my homework assignment to you when you leave here, is we'll teach you some ways to get the ideas and how to evaluate this. But for you, my vision is that you'll go home and practice and practice and practice. And the more you do it, the better you will become at it. Okay, so let's start off with the ground rules for brainstorming. We all generate ideas every day. We've talked about that. However, most of us, this is the way we generate ideas. We come up with an idea. Okay, what do I want for dinner today? Yes, Jose, I'll give me 1 second and I will gladly give you the opportunity to speak. You know, what do I want for dinner today? And we go, well, chicken, I don't really feel for chicken. Okay, maybe a salad. Nah, not really in the healthy mood. Maybe some biryani. Oh, that takes too long. Maybe some jollof rice. Oh yeah, that takes too long too. And as we go, we start criticizing the ideas as they come, and finally you land on a burrito, but you really didn't want the burrito. It was just the best of the worst ideas and you settle for it. We all know that experience. And so we're going to talk about how to reframe our way of generating ideas. Jose, you can unmute yourself and let's hear what you have to say.
Hi everyone, nice to see you.
Nice to
Greetings.
see you too. Greetings.
Well, a couple of slides back, you spoke about creativity and ideas. And well, I've worked in an ad agency a couple of years, so I know what you're saying. And generally, what we find in mixing creativity and ideas, especially in situations not pertaining to the marketing, more pertaining to case studies in which they compete for awards. Okay, I'll just give you an example. They're always looking for the who, the where, and the problem. And these case studies, if you listen to them, they always start in this particular town, these particular people have this particular problem. Therefore, we can solve this by X example. So what I would invite or motivate people is to try to find these case studies for advertising that are so clear cut when they present them. I'll just give you a small example. So there was a case study for Guatemala. It's a country in Central America. So there were these people who couldn't access internet with smartphones because they had these old phones, the ones with the buttons that we used to have.
Mm-hmm.
So they went to Google and they told them, all right, we need to access the information on Google without a smartphone. So what they came up with is to write a number, which is 600613, which is Google, and then you can speak and Google will give you the answer right back.
That's a
So
great idea. Thank you so much, Jose, for talking about those case studies. And yes, for those of you who are using, coming into this for the first time and trying to kind of find your way around in the entrepreneurial world, that is definitely a great place for you to start, is to explore, what others have done. Because here's the thing, someone said, I think it was Shushma who said earlier, I'm not really sure how to differentiate myself and my product in the market. And so when you're looking and seeing what other people are doing, then you know what has already been done. And you can even start from there to kind of figure out, well, how can I do things differently? How can I stand out in this market? So thank you, Jose, for that great kind of starting point for us, because that really is sometimes a good place to go if you're stuck. Of course, definitely go see what other people are doing. Now, and Jose, you can respond to Sakshan. He has a question in the chat about how to access those case studies. So here, let's talk about some ground rules for getting better ideas. As I said, we usually criticize as we go. As the idea comes, we judge it if it's good or bad. And if we think it's not good enough, we roll off on the ball, we throw it over our shoulder, we move on to the next one. That usually leads to us being dissatisfied or to ideas that have already been done before, or just boring ideas that are lackluster. That doesn't usually get us to where we want to go because we spend so much time criticizing our ideas. So let's talk about the foundations for good idea generation, for good brainstorming. First rule of thumb, defer judgment. Basically what it means is don't criticize, don't praise. Believe it or not, people don't recognize this, but praise is a form of judgment. So here's the thing. We all know how much it stings when someone criticizes their idea. If you run into the room and you go, hey, I have a great idea, and whoever it is looks at you and goes, that sucks. You are not in a mood to generate any more ideas for that person, right? We don't like that. Criticism is an idea killer. We don't want that because sometimes the idea does have potential, it just needs a little work. We also don't want to praise ideas while we're generating them, because if you have an idea and someone says, hey, Lisa, I really love that idea. Anna, it's great. Khalid, it's fantastic. Yukun, great. You know what happens? We continue generating ideas along that line because that's where the happy moments are. That's what people are telling us is good. And any other idea that might have potential doesn't come to the table because we put ourselves in a box with those ideas. So the first rule is just to relax judgment. Now that's hard. It takes practice just to let things come out. But well, and I'll give you an example a little later about how that affected me. But the more we learn to just let the ideas out, don't worry, we'll have time to judge them later and determine what's good. The next rule of thumb is to go for quantity. What this basically means is generate a lot of ideas. If you really want good ideas, you have to generate a lot of them, because most of us here have had this experience. When you start generating ideas, what you get is the same ideas in the initial stages that most people would have thought of. If you're really working yourself towards newness and novelty and something that's different, what we need to do is keep generating ideas, work our way through those boring ideas that everyone else has into that place where we get stumped, and then further past that into the place where they sound kind of wonky, they sound kind of strange, and you'd be surprised what comes out. The third is intentionally go after novelty, go after those wild, crazy, funky, strange ideas, because that's where the novelty, that's where the thing that no one else has thought of or in that way really lies. But if we don't give ourselves permission to delve into the place where things are different, well, how are we going to get something different? If we stay in the comfort zone all the time, we won't get somewhere different. And third, connect things together that we wouldn't typically connect together. Build connections, link things together that don't normally belong, because that is when novelty and new things are born. So I'll give you a quick example. How am I on time? Give me a thumbs up, Simi. Am I good? Okay, I'll give you an example about me and these rules. So when I just started at Sheridan, brand new, I was probably in my job 2 months. So I wasn't here very long. And I happened to be in a meeting with some bigwigs. When I say bigwigs, I'm talking about deans, people who hold a lot of power. And here I am, a lowly prof, brand new, still on probation, in my job, all those things, and we were generating ideas. I was one of 2 professors in this room, and everyone else, oh, you can leave it on that slide, Cole, it's fine. Everyone else was, you know, higher up, and we're generating ideas and we're generating ideas. And I took my brainstorming rules to heart. I relaxed my judgment. I got all creative, all that wonderful stuff. And as we're going, I blurt out, tar and feather them. Now, for those of you who've never heard the term tar and feather, it's a really cruel form of punishment. And as that came out of my mouth, all of a sudden, I started judging myself for what I just said. I felt really embarrassed that I just actually said that in front of these deans. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm brand new here. I just said that in front of people, and I shut up. I stopped generating any other ideas. I was done. And I even said to my colleague, we had a break, and I was like, I can't believe I said that in front of these deans. Oh my God, I'm not going to have my job tomorrow. Anyway, it turned out as we worked our way through the ideas, believe it or not, it was my tar and feather idea that got us to the solution. And instead of talking about how to punish these behaviors, we flipped it on its head and started to talk about how to reinforce the behaviors we wanted to see. And so I wanted to give you that example because it's so easy to judge ourselves. It's so easy to try to withhold those crazy ideas because we think about what other people will say about us. But sometimes that's where the gold is. You know, if you're mining for gold, you know, you have to dig through the dirt. All right, so let's talk about one idea generating tool. This tool is called forced connections. This is an idea generating tool where you take things that don't belong together and you see what you can come up with. Now, this tool is a little bit more challenging sometimes for people to use. And so what we're going to do, we are actually going to go to the Jamboard in a little bit. I'm going to allow Cole to kind of give us instructions for that. But as you can see on your screen, you've got 3 items. You've got a cell phone charger, you've got a shovel, and you've got a pot lid. And you're looking at me and going, what? Yes, I want you to combine these 3 items to come up with something new. And you think I'm nuts and you think I'm crazy. For those of you who are going, I just can't see this and this is difficult, here's a tip for you. Think about the characteristics of the items. So when you think of the cell phone charger, what comes to your mind first? You can type it in the chat. What comes to your mind first? I see power, exactly. What about the shovel? What comes to your mind? Charge, exactly. Electricity. Soil, exactly. Gathering, yep. Let's throw the pot lid in there. What comes to your mind? Food, pot, glass. Exactly. All of those things. Covering, cooking, exactly. So now that you've got electricity and gathering and soil and cover and cooking all in your mind, what can you combine those things to do to come up with? What ideas do you have? And if you think I'm kidding, let me share a couple of my kind of funky ideas that I came up with those 3 things. So I came up with a greenhouse that uses the carbon dioxide generated by plants to generate more electricity. I also came up with automatic bath salt shovels, because you get all those bath salts and they tell you you're supposed to put a certain amount in the tub, but you don't really know how much that is. So I came up with a shovel for that will automatically do it for me. And I also came up with an electric salt or oil dispenser for cooking, because there are people with dietary restrictions, they have high blood pressure or high cholesterol, and they need to measure these things. And sometimes we have no clue what that is. All right, so Cole, if you can help us get to the Jamboard and help people kind of throw their ideas up there, let's go over to Cole has put the Jamboard in there. I already see a USB recharging idea. Remember, hold off your judgments. Just throw your ideas over there. Just click on the link. I'll meet you guys in the Jamboard. If you see me looking to the right, that's because my Jamboard's on another screen. So Cole, if you could.
So I'll give a quick explanation for everybody who
Yes.
has access to the Jamboard. Just click on the link that was posted in the chat. It'll bring you to a Google page in which you can attach sticky notes of ideas that you might have for the force connections of each of these items. You'll notice on the left side, and I'll try and point it out, that there's this little sticky note option. Feel free to create a sticky note, type out whatever you want. I'll just put test for now, and save your sticky note, where you can then put it anywhere you want on the screen. You can adjust the size of it and show your idea to everybody else. So we'll use this opportunity, and feel free to put your ideas on the Jamboard.
So just looking at the time, we have about 4 minutes. So you have 4 minutes to get as many ideas out as possible. And yes, myself and Cole will move the stickies around. Typically they stick initially up to the top. We'll just make sure that the ideas are coming out across the platform.
Don't forget, don't worry about the judgment. If it sounds ridiculous, please put it up there. I want the ridiculous ideas too, because I know at home right now you're going, yeah, I can't put that up there. Someone's going to know it's me. No one will know what you put up there. It's all anonymous.
Yes,
so
it's
just
all
shove
anonymous.
them up there, read other people's ideas. You can build on them, make them something new, play around.
We have lots of anonymous animals in here. Foxes, camel, giraffe.
Just where I asked the question, I'm a bit confused. Is it supposed to convey a story or a product?
Doesn't matter. You can go wherever you want with this. You can just, This is just about putting these things together to come up with whatever idea comes to your head. At this point, we're just practicing how do we take things that don't belong and make something. Could be a story, could be a product, could be a service, doesn't matter. Go wild. So I'm seeing ideas, I'm seeing electric shovels, I'm seeing electric food coolers, I'm seeing a steaming shovel, a lid that detects when it's time to stir your dish, an automatic flour shovel, rechargeable serving spoon that keeps your food hot while you serve it. I'm seeing, let's see, a heated shovel that will melt your snow, electric spoon for cooking rice, Mr. Glass superhero who fights crime with an electric shovel. I'm seeing a DIY pulley system for gathering herbs, portal greenhouse, my phone fell in the mud kind of charging system with a spade to put in the pot with rice to dry. Oh, so when your phone gets wet, some sort of system to dry out the phone so you can keep it working. I have dropped my phone in water more times than I can count. So yes, I've done the rice trick. Come on, 2 more ideas, 3 more ideas. No one knows it's you. You can put whatever up there. A charged lid and mix it with a shovel because you lost your spatula. Exactly. Recharging station for your electric shovel. Exactly. So right there in what, 5 minutes, we have generated 15 ideas just like that all together. And some of you, as you can see, our portal greenhouse, you could see things here that could actually become real products, correct? Yes. Electric digger. Exactly. Just like that, we were able to generate ideas. Solar powered compost lid that helps your compost decompose in the winter. That would be cool, right? And we're keep going. It was a little slow at first because we were like, how do I put these things together? But now look at us. We can do this. And so this is a tool that is really great if you're trying to come up with new ideas. As I said, it takes a little bit of practice. And that's why I like to do it with our group together at something simple because it gives us that opportunity to practice. All right, Cole, if you could kindly switch us back to our PowerPoints. I want to share with our group kind of some other ideas that came up. I think that's the next slide, right? Yep. So we've done this before. We've seen people do a kind of service, a farm to table kind of gardening kit. We saw people come up with a power generator that produces water from air. We saw solar stills. We saw a cell phone that charges as you use it, opposite to what we have where it loses charge all the time. We saw people come up with a potential mouse trap, electric plants that harvest the sun's energy for hikers. We saw all sorts of fun ideas come up in the past just by using these 3 things. A pot lid that has a stirrer built into it. So let me show you some real life examples of forced connections working. Next slide, please, Cole. Many of us use this all the time, tablets. We don't realize that tablet computers are actually forced connections. We took so many different things and smushed them into one functional unit, things that were separate. And this is just a small list of some of the things our tablets do, right? We've got a computer that has all the regular computer features. It's a notepad for taking notes. Some of them, can serve as a telephone depending on what apps you have on it. It's a camera for taking photographs and videos and family videos. You don't have to lug around with a big VHS recorder anymore. That happened in the 80s. That's how my family videos were recorded. It's a TV. You can watch many of your favorite TV shows on it. It can be a toy for entertaining kids. For those of you who've had kids in this COVID period, the tablets have kept many a child entertained. It could be a point of sales device. Many entrepreneurs who are out on their own use it to get payments. A book, if you're like me. Audible is my friend. I spend a lot of time, Audible and Kindle are my friends, so I spend a lot of time reading on my tablet. Could be a radio, Spotify, all of that in one device. Next slide. For those of you who are like me and you like to travel and you miss traveling, here is a real life forced connection. The bus boats, and these ones are from Rotterdam, but they're in Washington, D.C., they're in Quebec. Anybody been on one of those kind of boat tour buses that go into the water? Nobody? Well, they exist. For those of you who don't know, go explore the next time you're traveling in your, it does look like fun, but but you couldn't trust it. Well, somebody came up with the idea and several cities have it and people are going on them all the time, so you never know, Adriana. All right, the next force connection, putting things together that we don't think belong together. Here's one that actually, laparoscopic surgery. Many of us don't even think about something like that. But my younger sister has a scar that goes from her belly button to her side. It's quite large because when she was 6 months old, she had emergency surgery. And they really didn't have time to diagnose her, so they just put a big cut there to figure out to fix the problem. Interestingly enough, fast forward, I actually had surgery about 3 weeks ago, and I have one tiny scar because my surgery was done laparoscopically. My recovery time was faster. I was back to work in 2 days. My pain was reduced. The risk of infection was lower. Why? Because some smart people out there figured out that we could take our video camera technology, incorporate it with our medical technology to make safer, faster, more effective surgeries for people out there. That is forcing connections. That's an idea. And let's get to the last slide. And for those of you out there, most of us go shopping, we buy products, they have these nifty barcodes on the back. I've got my Skittles bag here. And we've never really thought about these barcodes. We know that these barcodes identify the product and allow us to pay for them, no problem. But most of you don't know the story behind the barcode or the fact that barcodes are the result of a forced connection. Yes, my friends, it is indeed. So barcodes, the person who invented barcodes, Joe Wildard, was actually hired on to come up with some method of identifying products so that we could kind of do what we do with them. And believe it or not, Joe was stumped and he happened to go on vacation in Miami Beach and happened to be in the sand playing around. And you know, when we pull our fingers through the sand, Joe did that. And all of a sudden, someone said earlier, I'm still looking for my eureka moment. Well, Joe had a eureka moment and he went, wait, my fingers created these different length lines, these different width lines. And from that, barcodes were born. And those barcodes now are on so many of the products we purchase to help to identify them, a forced connection, just like that. So my advice to you guys is to practice this tool. If you are stumped and you're generating ideas, look around your house, go, okay, what are the characteristics of this mug? What can I do? How can I use this to help me market my product? How can I use this to help me train people more effectively? Use your forced connections in order to come up with ideas. All right, now we're going to practice a tool that's a little easier, and we're going to do this in groups. There are going to be 4 breakout rooms. I will be in one, Cole and Simi will be in one, Chris Beth is going to be in one, and John will be our table facilitators or group facilitators. So here's what will happen in your breakout rooms as we get to this next stage. We've talked about how to generate ideas with forced connections, and you are free to use your forced connections in generating your ideas at the next stage. Feel free to practice it there. Some of you already have a topic that you need ideas for. Others of you are still kind of exploring. So in your breakout rooms, we will ask for volunteers who would like ideas. And as a group, we will work towards helping that person generate ideas. We'll be using the Jamboards to do that, so feel free. I know there's a couple of you who are concerned about intellectual property, so you are definitely free to reserve, participating at this point if that is your concern. But I can tell you that one of the best ways to get ideas is to get minds of people who think differently at the table in order to get really good ideas out. All right, so here's how this rapid brainstorming is going to go. In your breakout rooms, we're going to ask for 3 volunteers, and each person will tell us a little bit about what they're looking for ideas for. Your table facilitator will help us pin down what specific thing you want ideas to be generated for. It will help if we can kind of find something specific. And as a group, we'll be using those Jamboards and those Post-it notes to throw ideas out there. Remember, don't judge your ideas, go for wild and crazy, just let it out there. No one on the Jamboard knows what you're writing, so you don't have to worry about if the idea is good or bad. They don't have to worry, but generate as many ideas as we can in those 10 minutes. So your table facilitators will remind you of those rules. Build on each other's ideas, withhold judgments, and we will keep things on track. So Cole, if you could help us jump into those breakout rooms, I will be greatly appreciated. On your screens, you should see your breakout rooms popping up.
Sushma, you're okay? You got the notification?
So we're back.
Yes.
Some
Sorry,
people,
Jose, we got brought back to the room.
yes, I was gonna say, I know some people were just in mid-sentence.
That's okay. That's okay.
Chris Beth, you're muted.
I want to apologize for bringing everybody back to the room so abruptly. I tried to give a 60-second warning and I misclicked on that.
Yeah, it happened a little too soon, but it was good. Great conversation. It was great to see that the jam boards were getting filled up, so thank you. We are going to take a 5-minute break, bio break, stretch break, wellness break. So feel free to turn off your cameras if you're on camera. We will be back at 7:30. Okay, thank you.
Jose, if you're comfortable, we can continue chatting.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. So what I was saying is that I've been working based on creativity, based on what a consumer needs, right? And haven't had had the time to think about what I would want, what I would
Ah,
want to do. So it's kind of hard for me to throw out ideas because I'm always thinking, okay, but who's gonna buy that? Who's your market and stuff? And there's nothing like, oh, I wish that I could create a book that is digital but is physical at the same time, for example, right?
mhm.
And you can move energy instead of pages or something like that. So it's hard for me. It's hard for me to come up with something without thinking about, is there a market for this? Are there people who are willing to is there a demand for this or stuff? So I kind of feel like stumped that way because I'm like, I don't want to do it for the money because I basically want to do an idea that I'm passionate about, but
Right.
I also want to do something that has to do with my own strengths. But when I get into it, it's like it's probably along the lines of developing a movie or a short film or something
Okay.
along those lines, some more intangibles. So I
So
would I
this
would
is what I'm hearing from you, Jose. I'm hearing that you kind of have a lot of ideas, but you're having a hard time kind of narrowing down the ones that really bring you joy and passion.
Yeah, definitely, because I've been working on like other people's joys and passions or the joy and passion of making money, basically.
Hmm.
So I haven't had to stop like and say, whoa, I'd really like to reduce this problem in this society. And I don't know if it has to be a societal problem for it to be a business, but there's nothing that I would say like, wow, I'd like to invent an electric fork, for example, right? Or in those old uh, Chuck Jones cartoons. You remember those? They made a mechanical sandwich maker and stuff.
Just Raj, sorry. I'm trying to scroll through and find the names. I recognize the voice. Awesome. So we are back. Um, it is all yours, Patrice.
Thank you. So guys, we spent all this time generating ideas and, we've realized it takes time, it takes energy, it takes practice. We've said all of that, but nothing is more important than to be able to, after you've generated all of these ideas, to be able to evaluate them well. That's sometimes where we fall down. Sometimes the challenge isn't the lack of being able to have a creative idea or a unique idea. As we were talking about with Jose earlier, it's okay, section, thank you so much. As we were talking about with Jose earlier, it's, sometimes the challenge isn't the ideas, it's how to figure out which one. And so this is what we're going to talk about in the next sessions. So next slide, Cole. Next part of this session, sorry. Just as in we talked about how to brainstorm well, not judge your ideas, just throw them to the wall, throw out a lot of ideas, make connections. We also have to talk about how do we judge our ideas well. Our way of judging ideas is to talk about everything that's wrong with it. Right? When we look at a product and we say, oh, I have this great idea, and then we start to go, oh, it won't work because it's going to cost too much money to create this. It's going to take too much time. And there are all these negative things about it. And what happens is we slowly throw the baby out with the bathwater. For those of you who don't know what that phrase means, we throw out the valuable part of that idea because we see all the things that are wrong. So we want to turn our judgment of our ideas on its heads by starting off by talking about what's good about this idea. What are all the positive things associated with the idea? Starting with affirmative judgment, positive things, instead of what's wrong. That will kill our idea. Let's start off with what's positive. The second part about it is we're going to really intentionally evaluate our ideas. We're going to be deliberate about it because normally we do that snap judgment, good or bad, good or bad, good or bad. We're very good at categorizing, but we really need to slow this process down and give every idea a fair shake when we're looking at them and deciding whether they may work or may not work. Third is it cool? Is it new? Is it bringing something that's not there already? You know, one of the things we do struggle with is we sometimes throw out our ideas and we throw out the novelty with it. So we really want to make sure that what we're bringing to the market isn't there or isn't there in the same way. I know some of you are operating in fields where there are already similar products existing. It doesn't mean that your product cannot thrive. What we need to find out is what's new or novel about your product. And fourth, sorry, when we're evaluating our ideas, we need to check, will this idea solve the problem? Will it meet the goal? Will it deliver the service we intend for it to deliver? Is it getting to where we need it to get? Is it more effective? You know, yes, we want novel ideas, but if it's not going to work, we don't want to waste our time on an idea that won't work. And so we really want to spend time doing this. Now, as I was talking about in the break, for those of you who were here, next slide, please, Cole. This is a tool I want to teach you to help you with evaluating your ideas. It's called the evaluation matrix tool. And the reason I love this tool is because it forces me to step back away from my ideas and really and truly evaluate my ideas objectively. And I joked in the break that's saying that I love to hate this tool because honestly, sometimes I walk into this tool with an idea about which idea I love, and then it reminds me that I might love the idea, but it might not be as novel as I think it is, or it might not be as appealing as I think it is, or it might not be as impactful as I think it is. And so let me explain this evaluation matrix to you. I firstly encourage you not to use more than 10 ideas with this matrix, or else it will get a little bit crazy. So once you have your ideas and you have them and you've looked at them and you've seen the promising ones, here's what we do with them. We come up with characteristics of an ideal idea for the issue you're working on. So if you're working on something training related, what would make a good training program? What are those characteristics? If you're working on a new service, what would be the characteristics of an ideal service for you? If you're working on some sort of new gadget or gizmo, what would be the ideal characteristics? I usually say pick 3 to 5 of those key characteristics for you. You know, it might be, is it novel? Is it bringing something new to the market? You know, it might be, you know, how easy is this thing to prototype? Think about those things. You know, do I have the skill sets to do this? Those might be characteristics that you want to consider. And then once we have those characteristics, what we will do is we will rate each of your top ideas. We will score them on each of the characteristics. So we're going to do an example with you guys. Cole is going to help me out by typing ideas into our PowerPoint for us. I am going to go back to our warm-up activity at the beginning of this. Remember our force connections activity where we put the pot lid, the shovel, and the cord together and to come up with some ideas. If you guys want to look back on that Jamboard and tell me what ideas from those stand out for us, we'll use those to do our evaluation matrix. So I can read them for you, for those of you who aren't on the Jamboards. So there's a newcomer's professional guide. There's an electric digger. There we go. There's chosen feet, a pot lid that automatically waters your plants, electric food cooler, electric shovel, heated shovel that melts the snow, steaming shovel, drying out your phone, portal greenhouse. Which ideas stand out to you? You can just drop it in the chat, or we can just pull them. Someone says the pot lid. It's okay if you're biased. Rechargeable serving spoon, okay. So one idea, the rechargeable serving spoon, it's there. Thank you, Michael. I don't care if you're biased. That's the whole point of this tool, is to help us step away from our biases or see if our biases are accurate. I love the heated shovel that melts the snow. So Matthias likes it too. So there are two of us there. Okay, one more. Let's do three. The portable greenhouse. Okay, so we've got three ideas. So Cole, there, Chris Beth likes it. See, we've got cheerleaders for all of these ideas. All
that
right.
was mine, by the way.
I can tell you none of these ideas that are on there right now are mine. Mine are up there, but none of these are mine in the top three. I can tell you that much this time around. All right, so Cole, let's get that into the evaluation matrix. And if you could share that screen with us, then we can talk about coming up with the criteria. So we've got three ideas: the heated shovel, the portable greenhouse, and
the rechargeable serving spoon. That was the first
rechargeable serving spoon.
Yeah.
Thank you. Cole, will you be able to type in with it like that? Okay, good. So as I said, we're going to come up with criteria. Now, criteria is a really fancy word for characteristics. Really what we're saying to ourselves is, okay, if we had the ideal product that we were about to sell or market as entrepreneurs or develop as entrepreneurs, what characteristics would this product have to have? That's the question we're asking ourselves. So when we say criteria, that's what we're asking. So what characteristics would our product have to have if we wanted to bring this to the market and, given what we have here, make lots of money or make an impact in the world? You can drop it in the chat. You could say something.
Could one of the criteria be if there is need for it in the marketplace?
Of course. Thank you, Favor. Yes.
Can you type that down?
So it's demand.
Demand. Is it needed in the market?
Yeah.
I would say affordability.
Affordability. Okay. Cost to make. I'm going to add novelty. Is there anything like it already in the market? Anything else anyone wants to add? Reusability. Recyclable. Is it recyclable? Is it green? Wonderful.
Impact.
Does it have impact? Just like that, friends, we've already started to come up with criteria. We're coming up with characteristics of a great idea. Okay, so now that we have this list, we're going to narrow it down to, let's call it, oh, Cole has already done it for us. No need. There are 4 of them up there. You could have more than 4 characters. As I said, you could do 5. You decided top 5. But now we get to score them on each idea on each of these things. So Cole, do we have polls for this, or are we just going to go live? Okay, no problem. We've got it. So let's start off with our portable greenhouse. How much demand do you believe there is for a portable greenhouse in the market? Where 1 is not a lot of demand for it, to 5 being, yep, there's ton loads of demands for a portable greenhouse. Just drop a number in the chat. We'll get a eyeball figure of this really quickly. Seeing 4s, 3s, 4s, 2s, 3s. Okay, so right now we're averaging around 3. I'm actually pretty good at math. 4s, 2.5s, 3. Cole, we're looking like we're coming around with 3s in terms of demand on this one. It depends, because I bought some from IKEA, so maybe a 4. Of course it depends. And the good thing about about having a group this diverse is that we get different perspectives. And, you know, when you're working with your partners on your various entrepreneurial projects, this is also an opportunity for us to hash things out. Because we're on a time limit here, we don't have the opportunity to have the deep discussions about each one. But what I love is when I'm with a diverse group of people and we're rating ideas, people will bring different things to this discussion that will help us really narrow these numbers down and really hone in. You know, things like exactly this, like I just brought one from IKEA. So, you know, things like that really help us know if there's the demand. So we've got a 3. All right, we're gonna stick with the greenhouse for the time being and just do all of them. So affordability. So are we talking about affordability to the customer, or are we talking about affordability in terms of cost to make? Let's clarify this so everyone's on the same page.
I was thinking in terms of the cost that the customer would be paying.
Okay, so affordability. So can we make a portable greenhouse that would be at a price point that would appeal to a lot of customers, affordable for customers? So let's drop our numbers there. 5 being really affordable to the customer, 1 being not so affordable, kind of expensive. So affordability to the customers. Someone's asking how much did the IKEA one cost? I'm saying 3s, 2s, 4s. So we're looking like there's a 5 there, 4s. There's a 2 here. My on the spur math mind is saying we're landing at a 3 around here because we have some 2s, we have some 3s, we have some 4s, we have some 5s. So I think we're coming in and around a 3 here. Not the perfect. It was $24.99 from IKEA for those of you who wanted to know. All right. So look, we're coming in around a 3 here. Because of time, I'm not actually doing all the math. I probably should be the way we should be, but you guys get my point. All right, novelty. How new is this? Well, we know it's at IKEA. So drop your numbers in. Is this something we haven't seen before? I'm seeing 2s, I'm seeing 3s, 2s, 4, a 2, another 4, more 2s. So I see a couple 4s, more 4s. So we're coming in at a 3 again, Nicole, around here for this one. And impact. How impactful will this be on the world? So if we had a portable greenhouse, very impactful, change people's lives, people would be using it. I'm seeing 5s and 4s here. There's 1, 3, 2 3s, another 3, 2. I'm thinking this is averaging out to another 3 for us, Cole. So novelty and impact 3, so that's 12. So let's do our heated shovel. Demand for a heated shovel. Winter is coming. All of you, all of those people who, yes, I see I've got kindred spirits here. So demand, we've got 1, 2s, 4s, 4s, 3s, 4s, 4s, 3, 4. So we had 1, 1, 1, 2, and a lot of 3s and 4s. This is looking closer to a 3.5, Cole, or 4. Okay, I'll take the 4. We're going with majority. Affordability. How affordable would a heated shovel be to the customer? 1. Really, Chris Beth?
Well, unless I mean,
Compared to the average shovel, I feel like it's going to be a little expensive.
Really?
yeah.
And there I was thinking we could use those, you know, those big D batteries from the 1980s boom boxes in it, rechargeable D batteries. All right, so we're seeing this is going to be lower. It's going to be more expensive, so not very affordable. So this is looking like a 2 from the numbers I'm seeing here. Novelty. Is a heated shovel new? Now I want to Google if one of these things exist. How new is it? I'm seeing 4s, 5s, 4s. So we're looking at, this is looking like a 4.5. And impact, how impact, will it make a difference for people in the world if they had a heated shovel? And here's another, it depends on how much snow you have to shovel, right?
Exactly.
Or how much you like shoveling snow. I'm seeing 4, 2, 3, 3, 2s. We live in Canada is the answer to global warming, to, so I think this is, oh, more 2s. I think this is trending towards a 2. This is definitely trending towards a 2.
All right.
All right, so we've got 12.5 here. So the first one was 12, the second one is 12.5. Let's talk about the rechargeable serving spoon. Demand. Who really wants a rechargeable serving spoon? Would that be high demand for that? I'm seeing 1s, 3s. There was 1, 5 earlier. 1, 1, 2, 1, 1. I think this is trending in the direction of 1s. Thank you. Affordable. What does a rechargeable serving spoon even do? It serves the food for you. I will admit I make a mess every time I serve food, so I usually just no, I could cook it and then I call my husband to help put it on the plate because there's always a mess. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I definitely will spill. So I might be okay with a spoon that does the serving for me. It wasn't my idea, but I could see the need for it. I'm championing it anyway. Affordability of a rechargeable serving spoon. Could we make this for cheap? I see 5 or afford it, some 5s here. 4s, 1s, 2s.
You know, if I made that a rechargeable ice cream scoop that's heated, I bet you it would get different numbers.
Of course it would. So it looks like we're averaging out to be around a 3 here based on the numbers I'm seeing. How new is a rechargeable serving spoon? I haven't seen one before. I've seen rechargeable knives for carving turkey, but never a spoon. I've seen 5s, 1s, 4s, 3s. I love it as for ice cream. Or even better, we just got another idea, a rechargeable ice cream scoop that keeps the ice cream cold, even better. See, we're building off of it. All right, so this looks like we're trending in the 3.5 zone, it looks like, for this. And impactful, would it make a difference to the world of cooking? 3.5, okay, Jose's asking me if my math is right. I should go back and check. There were 4s, 3s. I'll double check my rough math. This is not perfect. See, there were some early 2s,
A lot
Jose.
of offset the 5s, a lot of 4s to offset the 2s. So
Yep.
we're at a 3.5.
All right, impact. Would it be impactful? Will it make a difference in the world of cooking or the world of people who need rechargeable spoons in their world? 1, 2s, 1, 1, 3, 1, 1, 2. I got a negative, oh dear, a minus, a 0.5, 1s. I think we're trending towards the 1s here, friends. I think we are. Now, normally, as I said, if we had more time, we would actually be discussing these numbers and going, why do I think it's a 1? Why do I think it's a 5? And really, as a team, we would settle on a number. That math adds up to 8.5. But as you can see here, what it did is that it forced us to really stop and think about, oops, these different characteristics of our ideas. And we actually now have a front runner. Ta-da! We have the heated shovel as the front runner. I don't know if that was your favorite or it wasn't your favorite, but one of the things I find with my ideas is that this usually moves me in a different direction than where I thought I was going. So hopefully for you guys, as you're evaluating your ideas, and Jose, as I was talking about this earlier with you, I was saying to you, a great idea for you is, maybe one of your characteristics would be for you is how passionate am I about it? The characteristics we use here, the criteria we use in your evaluation matrix doesn't have to be these four. Each one of you as entrepreneurs can decide, what are my most important characteristics? What are the things I care about most when I'm judging my ideas to determine which of these ideas will be the strongest for me? So for some of you, your own personal passion or how quickly this will take for you to prototype, or how much it will cost to develop, or how quickly you could find investors or money to build it. Some of those might be characteristics that you might want to rate your ideas on. My point is this particular tool is really good in helping us step back away from our ideas and helping us really be objective in evaluating the quality of the idea in front of us. All right, we're good? Thumbs up, everyone with me? All right, so what else can I do to develop my ideas further? So let's say, thank you so much, Jasraj. What else can I do? Well, here's the thing. Always start off by asking yourself, what's good about the idea? Does it work better in a group? It can work as well in a group as by yourself. I like doing it in a group because I know that other people think differently and they will challenge my own biases. So when I have other people around, they will challenge those places where I get stuck, and we can have a more objective discussion to settle on it. So it's really great tool for a group. What else can you do? Always ask yourself, what's good about the idea? Before you determine that an idea will not work, really list out the positive characteristics of it. And if you do come up on issues or challenges with the idea, don't just throw the idea out. Ask yourself, well, how can I fix this? Oh, it's expensive for me to make. Okay, where can I find the money? Don't just say I can't do it because I don't have the money. There might be grants, there might be angel investors, there might be somebody out there who might, grandma might decide that, you know what, she's got some extra money, she'll throw it your way. You never know where you might find a solution, but try to fix the problem before you decide that this idea will not work. Ask yourself, who does this idea help? Sometimes you have a service. Who is it going to work for? In my group, we were talking about two very different ideas. And, there were very different groups of people who these ideas would help and serve. And so, ask yourself, who would benefit from using this idea? What's the context? Sometimes ideas fail not because they're not good ideas, but because the environment surrounding the idea isn't quite ready for it yet. So ask yourself, is this environment ripe and ready for what I have to offer? Or do I need to create an environment that would work for this? Listerine, a product that so many of us are familiar with. It was a product that was originally used for post-dental surgery as a rinse if you had dental surgery. It wasn't originally a mouthwash, but if you look at the early Listerine ads, what they did, they created an environment that encouraged us to purchase Listerine as a mouthwash. You know what they did? They made halitosis, bad breath, a problem. So I encourage you, after you log off, Google early Listerine ads and you will see how they promoted it with this whole bad breath. All of a sudden, bad breath was a problem. And now we've got a whole aisle full in our supermarkets of bad breath mouthwashes and things for bad breath. So ask yourself, if this environment isn't right, what can I do to create an environment that would be right for my product? And what do I bring to the table? You might not always have all the skill sets, but what am I bringing and where can I find the other skills to help me bring this thing to the market? An idea is a starting point, but we need to be able to also evaluate it well and then have the pillars to support it, to bring it forward. And that's why EDGE is so important for you guys, because they help you in finding those pillars to continue to bring these ideas forward. So Chris Beth, I'm going to turn over to you so you can continue to build those pillars for us.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Patrice. And, every time I go through this workshop with you, I feel like my creativity skill is being harnessed and strengthened even more. And I'm always thinking about where can I use this and with whom can I use these tools. So I'm really excited because I don't think I mentioned it at the beginning, but like many of you, I'm also on an entrepreneurial journey. And one of the things that is important to me is making sure that you're paying attention to the need that's in the marketplace. You're understanding the problem, which we started with, who has that problem, understanding yourself within that space as well, and ultimately fine-tuning that with market research and asking questions. Don't just, because you have the idea, don't just believe that idea and start spending tons of money and you realize that, man, this idea wasn't so good over after all. But what we're going to talk about right now is just a little bit of the framework around entrepreneurship and really encourage those of you that are considering entrepreneurship. You may have so many ideas. I really want to emphasize the brainstorming process is very critical to you taking the next step. But coming down to the matrix, making a decision, where do I start? I like to tell people before Amazon became the mega store that we know today, Amazon started out with books. They were a bookstore. So they decided, I want to focus, I want to be niched in this space. They've always had the vision to cast a wide net to the everything store, but they started somewhere. And similarly, on your journey, you need to start somewhere. So as we're going through these final set of slides and getting ready to wrap up, I want you to think about, what is your bookstore? Where do you start? And I want to just, in reference to this slide, looking at if you had, given 1 hour to save the world, I would spend 55 minutes defining the problem and 5 minutes finding the solution. I've heard similar analogies. If you had 6 hours to cut down a tree, 4 hours is spent sharpening your saw, and then the other 2 cutting down the tree. So what does that boil down to? When you truly understand the problem, the magnitude of the problem, and we're not just talking about symptoms, we're talking about the root cause of the problem, you're now getting into a space where you're able to really serve and impact people in a positive way. So understanding what is the problem, and who has that problem. Because let's say, for example, I don't know if many of you know about the pet rock guy. So he had an idea, started drawing some pet rocks. Okay, that was like a blip. It was a fad. People jumped on that bandwagon, and then other people try to get into the market, and nobody wanted a pet rock. I mean, you still see them around every now and then, but the reality is, it was just something in the moment, spur of the moment, not something that's lasting in that context, right? So really finding problems that are massive. One of the things that we like to point people to, and Cole will put it in the chat, is talking about the world's UN, so the United Development Sustainable Development Goals. If you're not familiar with that, we were just in a session a couple days yesterday talking about social enterprise, SDGs. So Cole, if you could just put the link to the website for the UN Sustainable Development Goals, that would be awesome. Have a look at that. Go on our YouTube channel and you will see the session from yesterday. Learn a bit more about big problems that the world is experiencing, governments are trying to find solutions towards, and where can you be positioned in order to enter into the market in a strong and effective way. You can go to the next slide. Thank you so much. The other one is understanding the context, right? And so this comes into play when we're looking at, research, looking at what are the environmental impacts or situations. One of the things, as we know, current date, 2020 goes down in history for many people in a very negative way, some in a very positive way. COVID happened, right? And I say negative, we know the magnitude around the loss of life that has occurred, but some businesses have thrived through this time. And it's amazing to see within storms and chaos, there are winners and losers in different places. We know as well businesses have had to shut their doors. Some businesses boomed during this time. Understanding the market is so very, and the environment that you're looking to build in is so very important. We once had a client who spent over $40,000 building out a software platform that nobody wanted. By the time they came to us, it was already too late, coming to the fact that they didn't do any market research. They did not do any, and I say market research in two ways, secondary and primary. I was sharing in my breakout group, it is so important to get in front of people's faces to validate your idea. So we landed on, what was our top idea? Which one was that again? The shovel. The shovel. The heated awesome. Shovel. So the shovel, right? So we landed on the shovel, great stuff. But let's say we go out into the marketplace and people say, like in this group, 22 of us say, yeah, the shovel is okay. And you're like, okay, I'm gonna put all my money into the shovel. And you get out into the market and you start asking homeowners, would you buy this shovel? And they're like, no, 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 no. Why would you still make the shovel, right? So before you make that massive investment, understanding the market. And so taking into considerations, the technology, I tell people we are moving into a digital age. So if you're not thinking about optimizing your business in any way, I would challenge you to reimagine, reinvent that process, that business idea that you have. Keep brainstorming and building out. What does this business look like 10 or 15 years down the road? Taking into consideration things like mental, emotional health, culture, and social aspects as well. Making sure that whatever we have is relevant, a relevant idea that we're having. And we know that, chaos happens. We cannot oftentimes predict that, but how do you mitigate or plan now to be able to mitigate challenges that may arise in the future? You can go to the next slide. So ultimately, as an entrepreneur or someone considering entrepreneur, I'm gonna say fundamentally, you matter. Oftentimes we start off as the solopreneur, you're the CEO, you're the manager, and you're the person who's doing the thing. You're wearing all the hats. And understanding, we talked today about passions, knowing yourself is so fundamental as you're building out your business. Because if you, as that solopreneur, when you start your journey, it's all you. If you wake up and you don't do work, there's no food on your table, right? Entrepreneurship is not an easy road. It is a road that is worthwhile, but you have to be very strategic about it, right? You have to understand the landscape. You have to put things in place in order to start building out. But I will say this, as an entrepreneur myself, there are some valleys, but there's so many highs as well. And ultimately, for me, it's been very rewarding being able to serve the clients that I work with, and see them win, right? And so there are, benefits to entrepreneurship for the entrepreneur yourself. And I will say it starts fundamentally understanding what do you care about, what is important to you, knowing your values, and making sure whatever industry you go into, it aligns. Because when you're having problems sleeping at night, is it because you're not being true to your values? If you're doing something dishonest or, robbing, stealing, killing, whatever it is, it may be problematic in the long run, and you want to be doing something you're ultimately passionate about. You can go to the next slide. I know we have a little bit of time, so maybe I will just open it up to my colleague, John. I don't know if you want to add anything based on what has been said thus far before we tap into how does this relate to entrepreneurship, or you can contribute to this slide as well.
I have nothing to add. I think you did a really great job being very thorough. So, just to reiterate, Edge is here to support you in your journey to continue to test your ideas and validate them.
Awesome. Thank you so much, John. And so today, connecting the dots, we started off saying, you are the most creative person in this world, or one of, could be, right? Harnessing and practicing that skill. So you're in the right place. We've already identified that. It's now, okay, I have this idea. Is it a good one? So now is the time when you get to put your idea to the test. And entrepreneurship creates that, is that vehicle that where you're now, okay, I'm gonna take my heated shovel idea. I saw, I believe it was Jose or Mateus mentioned creating an MVP. Could I create something similar? And honestly, your MVP could be a drawing, some wireframes. It doesn't have to be something that's tangible like this. If you could get it to this state, by all means, but the reality is that you want to be able to start conversing, start talking about it with your potential clients. I like to tell people, do not go to your mom, your dad, your uncle, your dog, your auntie and say, is my idea good? Chances are they may say no. And then you're like, man, my ideas are not good. Or chances are they may say yes. And when you actually get out into the real world, they're like, we don't want this, right? So go to the people that you want to affect the change with, right? So that's what I would say. So creativity is fundamental to entrepreneurship. That's where you now get a vehicle to test out whether or not your idea is viable. We can go to the next slide. And so just to debrief, for me, as I was saying earlier, Patrice, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for everyone that participated. I had a chance to look at the Jamboards. I see the engagement was there. My question to you all is, what's one of the takeaways that you got from today? What's something that you learned? So I want to invite you to either put it in the chat, and I will invite two people to just come on screen. If you're on screen, you can raise your hand. I'll get a chance to see you if you want to, or you can raise your virtual hand. What is something that you've learned today? Favor. Yeah.
I would say there's something that you really touched on, which was market research, and both primary and secondary research. And I'm saying that because I'm at a point where I'm thinking of certain key things that I need to do that would help me to create a prototype of an idea. So I'm guessing that those things come, of course, research, primary and secondary research. But I'd like to ask though, what are some things that you feel like this needs to be done to be able to create a prototype, to be able to create that example of the final product of what you want to create?
So that's a great question, and I'll point you back to where you started, research. You got to go out. Do you wear orthotics?
No.
Okay.
I've interviewed 4 people that does though, but that's
okay,
a small number.
So I will encourage you to increase that number. Go find your target customer and understand their pain, because ultimately you're creating a solution for them. It's not for you, because clearly it's not for you because you don't wear orthotics. It's for them. So how can you truly create a solution if you're not connected to it? And this is where empathy comes into play. There's a tool called the empathy map. You can look at it, and it helps you to really think about, what is my target customer seeing, hearing, feeling, saying about this problem? And that helps you formulate your next steps. So thank you so much, Favor. Is there anyone else? And I see some suggestions or learnings coming in. I see the matrix research. Thank you so much for those. I'm looking for hands. I'm just scrolling through. Sachin, thank you.
Yeah, so yeah, this was definitely a great session. I really liked the aspect of the matrix, where we would rate the idea across criteria of an ideal solution, and try and figure out what to me would be an ideal solution, and what criteria I would like to rate my idea against. And couple of things that you mentioned towards the end that I thought was really amazing. Start somewhere, and that whole idea about the MVP. I've heard this in other entrepreneurial podcasts as well. So starting somewhere, MVP, just get some traction going. I thought that was pretty cool.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. And for those of you that are on the call and are not familiar with the terminology MVP, it's minimal viable product or service. What's the least thing you can do to just test it without going to spend 40,000 plus? What can you invest in that will demonstrate to you that there is a demand, right? And demand was one of the matrix items that we had there. So Sachin, I want to say thank you so much for sharing that. I feel as though connecting the dots, based on what you've just said, is very important. Thank you. I think we have time for one more, if there's anyone else. I saw the brainstorming session was cool. Thank you for that, Jess Raj. Awesome. So I will go to the next slide. Cole, if you can go to the next slide, just to kind of give everyone, I know some people here are not familiar with Edge, so I just want to spend a little more time talking about Edge and just giving you an opportunity to plug in. So my colleague Simi is gonna put our Edge programs on the chat for us. And basically, Edge has 4 major programs. We focus on encouraging and developing social enterprise. So if you're not familiar with what a social enterprise is, a social enterprise is a venture that's either for-profit or non-profit that is ultimately looking to affect, I like to call it the triple P or double P in some ways. So the first P is it is a business, so it is generating profits. However, what is core to social enterprise? It is either affecting the people that they want to serve in an impactful way or the planet as well. So looking at environmental needs as well. Yesterday in our Social Enterprise 101, we had one of our facilitators, Ryan Knight. He runs a mobile detailing company. And what makes his company a social enterprise, he uses about 6 ounces of water to clean an entire car, or I should say of solution to clean an entire car. It is vegan-based solution, so again, plant-based solution. Not only that, he works with at-risk youth that are in trouble with the law or just unemployed, giving them an opportunity to run mini franchises of his business. So in that way, when you look at the overall business system and flow and engagement, it is really looking at the impact on the triple P. So the people, the planet, and profits as well. So that's an example. So Explore, our program at the Explore level is really for those who have an idea, like yourselves. You have an idea and you want to keep exploring and understanding if entrepreneurship is right for me. Am I able to get some additional support? I know some of you have asked for one-on-ones and all of these things. This is a great place to start. Sachin, you mentioned starting. I encourage people to start, test your ideas. So a great place to start if you're just there. The LEAP program focuses on once you have that idea, you solidify, you come down and you're like, okay, I am going to focus on the electric shovel, the heated shovel. You're now saying, I want to see if I could build a business model around that. So in that program stream, we are going to help you focus on understanding, getting clarity around the problem you're solving, understanding your target audience, doing some market research, looking at the sales process, looking at the financial modeling, all of those core elements, and then furthermore, helping you pitch and refine, develop your pitching skills to refine your communication about your business idea. At the RISE program, we're really looking at companies that have their minimal viable product and is working towards their first sale, or they've already made some initial sales and they're looking to fine tune their operations to generate sales on a reoccurring basis, month after month. And then the last one, we typically see ventures that are somewhat stable, still needing some guidance and support around business structure, organizational growth, building out the team, but looking to really tap into investment funds or just looking at ways in which that they can expand their business overall. So those are our 4 programs. Myself, John, Cole in particular, and soon to be Simi could speak to you more about those, but you will get an opportunity in our follow-up email with additional ways in which you can plug in. You can go to the next slide. And this is last but not least, this is how you can stay connected to all of us. There's one more slide after this, talking about upcoming events. But if you want to take a screenshot of this, we will make sure that it is in the follow-up email, ways in which you can connect with the facilitators tonight. And we always invite you to follow us on social media. As John mentioned early on, lots of things are coming down the pipeline. You want to stay plugged in, follow us, like us. And if you've shared your handles or business stuff with us tonight, we will definitely follow you back. And then the last slide is just talking about some of our upcoming events, which you are all invited to. So we have, as I mentioned, our focus is really around helping to build out social enterprises. And I see that Cole, thank you for putting those in the chat. So you have the links to our programs, you have the links to our events, and the feedback form as well. Is that the last one? Yes, thank you. So the fundraising workshop is there. That's happening on the 17th. And I see some people, some familiar faces who joined us on Tuesday. Today is Wednesday. And tomorrow is Thursday. So we're 3 for 3. If I see you tomorrow, you're on a roll. The money's coming to you.
They should get prizes.
What's that?
They should get prizes.
Yes, prizes. Awesome. Hopefully when we reconnect in person, maybe we could hook you up with some Ed swag. But yeah, so tomorrow we have this social enterprise workshop. So this is really geared towards people with companies that they are looking to get some support in terms of writing for the IRP grant, which is currently coming. Jose, thank you. I get distracted by the chat sometimes. But yeah, so if you have a business that is running or you're looking to start a new idea, you must be incorporated. I will say that. You must not be seeking funds to support the operations of your business specifically for this IRP grant. So that's the investment readiness grant. You're welcome to come in, get some support with grant writing, and go from there. We do these things called Mentor Mondays. Really cool. We bring in some guest speakers. This Monday coming up, we have one of our very own, Katie from Boot Camps for Change. She runs a social enterprise. Is that correct, Cole? Katie's coming in. She runs a social enterprise to talk about her entrepreneurial journey. I know some of you are trying to figure out or not sure if you're a social enterprise, how you can structure it. But the cool thing about her venture, she's helping homeless, at-risk youth get into employment, get proper shelter, develop skill sets, and ultimately helping them to build a sustainable life. And then the last one is Breakfast for Champions. You're all welcome to attend as well. We have a couple cool speakers. Cole, do you want to tell us who's coming for Breakfast for Champions?
So for Breakfast with Champions for this month, we have the co-founder and current CEO of Eat, Sleep, Ride, Marina Mann. She is the founder, and she has worked for Apple Incorporated. She has worked for Virgin Communications and has now taken her passion for motorcycles and developed a business based upon that. We also have some Edge members from the higher levels who will be joining us as well. And feel free to join us for that event. It's going to give you some chances to ask some questions and learn about what it is to be an entrepreneur at that level.
Yeah, so come prepared to ask questions, an opportunity to ask entrepreneurs some questions. I'm going to have some questions for them, but you all can come and ask questions as well. What keeps you up at night? All of those things. How do you manage your personal and your business life as well? Things like that, which may cross your mind. So with that, we have a couple minutes before we have to sign out for the night, but I wanted to just open it up. Either you could put your questions in the chat, or if you're wanting to unmute yourself, feel free to come on, and we'll be happy to answer your questions. And if we don't know and have an answer for you, we will definitely circle back and provide you with an answer once we find it. So Sachin, social enterprise, does a business providing training solutions to individuals get accepted as a social enterprise? So again, Sachin, I like to challenge people. What makes you different from the guy or the gal down the street who's offering training, right? And so what makes you different could be, who are your facilitators? So you're looking at it from who's developing the curriculum? Who ultimately who is the curriculum for? So I know in our group you mentioned newcomers. Newcomers are experiencing massive problems. So how you position yourself is identifying that problem and really telling that story. How do you tell the story? You know, Mary Jane came from X country. She's a well-educated person. I'm an immigrant, so I know the immigrant story to an extent. You know, having to go back to, go back to school. I've seen this with my parents, my mom in particular, a very educated woman, having to go back to school because she didn't have the Canadian experience. Now, are you telling me your solution will help my mom's transition into the Canadian experience be easier and simpler? Is it now going to be, I think Jasraj mentioned, you're connecting to the employer. So looking at ways in which you can, one, focus on a specific market, and then being able to understand the problem in a way that you're really speaking impact, not just dollars and cents because you're a business owner, but what is the impact? So it's how you tell that story ultimately. And thank you, Cole, for putting that in there. The LibGuide was created by one of our librarians here, Claire Woolen. She's amazing. I would invite you all to have a look at that guide. You will see an entire section devoted to social enterprise. Explore that. But great questions. For someone, this is new, go to market. Thank you.
So before we sign off, guys, I just want to remind you that, today we just did a practice. We practiced generating ideas today. And with practicing, we came up with a brand new product for a heated shovel with a pot lid, a cell phone charger, and a gardening shovel. Imagine what we could do if you guys continued to practice generating ideas, reserving your judgment as you're generating, and then being more positive as you're evaluating your ideas. It doesn't happen overnight. Good entrepreneurial ideas take time, it takes practice. A lot of the times we talk about the success of entrepreneurs and we forget that they did struggle and they did fail. We talk about Steve Jobs all the time. We forgot the fact that he was fired from the company that made him famous in the long run. So, I just want to remind you as you continue these journeys to, know when to continue and stay the course, know when to change courses and pivot, but most importantly, that to get your ideas and to get them functioning and to get them strong and capable, you do have to keep practicing and don't give up on yourselves. Just keep practicing and it does get better.
I love it. Patrice, music to my ear, and I'll give you a real live example. So as you all know, COVID has happened to us all. Parents are stressing out about sending their kids back to school with, 300 plus students in the classroom. Myself and my business partner talked about the idea about, what if we did a homeschooling pod here? It was just an idea. And so we created a landing page. Trust me, it's not that pretty, a landing page. We put it out into our networks. We got a response saying we want to sign up our kids, all of these things. And just recently, my partner got invited to speak on Jerry Agar's show, and the Toronto Star wrote an article about us and our homeschooling pod, right? So you never know what will happen. It just is an idea. You start talking about it, you're taking action, you're practicing the skill, throwing creative, and we had so many ideas about how it would look, how it will feel. And we're now doing it, and we're now still being creative about what this thing actually looks and feels like. So you may be, forced outside of your comfort zone, but it's a good place to be. And I just got a reminder from Cole. If you could take, thank you so much for being here. If you can take a few minutes to just fill out the Google form to give us some feedback, that will be super awesome and helpful to us as well. And my message was just get started, keep practicing. But yeah, if you don't have any other questions for us, thank you so much. We appreciate you. We'd love to see you again. And I hope you have a good rest of your night.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Matthias. Thank you, Favor. Thank you, Section, Erin, Lisa, Sanjit, Sushma, Anna, Adriana, Christopher, Khalid, Michael, Jose, Yukun. Thank you all. Have a great night.
And John.
Josh Raj. I forgot Josh Raj.
Yeah.